Amara Williams stood outside the Grandview Hotel, taking a deep breath as she looked up at the tall glass building. Her hands were a little shaky as she smoothed down her black blazer. It wasn't the newest outfit, but it was clean and professional. She had borrowed it from her roommate for this important day. She was here for a job interview, a translation job that could change everything for her. At 24, she had been searching for work for months after finishing college. Student loans were piling up, and her part-time job at a coffee shop barely covered rent in the small apartment she shared with two other girls. The hotel lobby was like stepping into another world. Everything was shiny white marble and gold details. Crystal chandeliers hung from the high ceiling and fresh flowers sat on every table. Amara had never been inside such a fancy place. She felt out of place but tried to walk with confidence toward the front desk. As she got closer, she heard raised voices. A man in an expensive gray suit was talking loudly to the hotel manager. His voice carried across the quiet lobby, making other guests turn to look. "What do you mean the translator isn't coming?" the man said, his face getting red. "I have the most important business meeting of my life in 2 hours. 2 hours. Do you understand what that means?" The hotel manager, a thin man with perfectly combed hair, kept apologizing. "Mr. Blackstone, I'm so sorry. The translator called in sick this morning. We've tried calling every translation service in the city, but everyone is booked today." Mr. Blackstone ran his hands through his gray hair. "This deal is worth $50 million. $50 million. I need someone who can speak Japanese, German, and Portuguese. Not just speak them, but really understand business talk in those languages." Amara stopped walking. She knew she shouldn't listen to private conversations, but she couldn't help herself. This man needed exactly what she could offer. "Sir, maybe we can reschedule the video call," the hotel manager suggested hopefully. "Reschedule?" Mr. Blackstone laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "These people are calling from Japan, Brazil, and Germany. Do you know how hard it was to get them all online at the same time? The Japanese team leader is flying to China tomorrow. The Germans are going on vacation next week. This is the only chance I have." Mr. Blackstone looked around the lobby like he was searching for an answer. His eyes were desperate. Amara could see sweat on his forehead even though the hotel was cool. She knew this was her moment. Her heart was beating fast, but she walked up to the front desk. Both men turned to look at her. "Excuse me," she said politely. "I couldn't help but hear. Are you looking for a translator?" Mr. Blackstone looked at her from head to toe. She could see him taking in her simple clothes, her young face, her nervous energy. His expression changed from desperate to doubtful. "You're a translator?" he asked, raising one eyebrow. "Yes, sir. I'm actually here for a translation job interview today." The hotel manager checked his computer. "Are you Miss Williams? You're a bit early." "Yes, that's me." Mr. Blackstone crossed his arms. "How old are you?" 24. 24, he repeated, shaking his head. "And I suppose you speak Japanese, German, and Portuguese?" "Yes, sir. And 6 other languages, too." Mr. Blackstone actually laughed out loud. It was a mean laugh that made Amara's cheeks feel hot. Other people in the lobby were staring now. "9 languages?" he said loudly. "Really? Let me guess. You learned them all on the internet? Maybe watched some YouTube videos?" Amara felt embarrassed, but she kept her voice steady. "I learned them through years of study, sir. I have a degree in linguistics from the University of Michigan." "University of Michigan?" Mr. Blackstone said, still smiling in a way that wasn't nice. "And now you're here looking for translator work. That tells me everything I need to know about how good your language skills really are." The hotel manager looked uncomfortable. He could see that Mr. Blackstone was being rude, but he also needed to keep his wealthy customer happy. "Sir," Amara said, trying to stay calm, "I understand you're stressed about your meeting. I really can help you." "Help me?" Mr. Blackstone looked at his expensive watch. "Listen, kid. This isn't some college presentation. These are serious business. People from around the world. They're talking about millions of dollars, technical contracts, legal terms, cultural business practices that take decades to understand. I understand that, sir. Do you? He stepped closer to her. The Japanese businessman I'm dealing with is 70 years old. He's been doing international business since before you were born. The German engineering team has patents worth more than most people make in a lifetime. The Brazilian manufacturing group owns factories in 6 countries. Amara nodded. That sounds very important. Important? Mr. Blackstone's voice got louder. If this deal falls through because of a bad translator, hundreds of people will lose their jobs. My company stock will crash. I'll lose everything I've worked 30 years to build. He looked at her again, this time with something that looked like pity. You seem like a nice girl, but this isn't a game. I need a real professional. Someone with experience. Someone who understands that one wrong word can destroy everything. The hotel manager cleared his throat softly. Mr. Blackstone, with respect, we still haven't found anyone else. Maybe we should... Should what? Mr. Blackstone snapped. Trust my company's future to a kid who probably learned languages from phone apps? Amara felt her face getting hot, but she remembered what her mother always told her. Don't let anyone make you smaller than you are. She stood up straighter. Mr. Blackstone, she said in a clear voice, I know you don't think I can do this job. I understand why you're worried. But I'm telling you the truth when I say I speak 9 languages fluently. Not just basic conversation. I can handle business meetings, legal documents, and cultural communication. Mr. Blackstone stared at her for a long moment. She could see him thinking. He looked at his watch again. Time was running out. 9 languages, he said slowly. Yes, sir. List them. English, Spanish, French, German, Japanese, Portuguese, Mandarin Chinese, Arabic, and Russian. And you learned all of these? He waved his hand. Where exactly? Different places. Different ways. It's a long story. Mr. Blackstone laughed again, the same mean laugh as before. I bet it is. Let me guess. Your parents were diplomats? Or maybe you grew up traveling around the world, Amara shook her head. No, sir. Then how does a 24-year-old girl from... He paused. Where are you from? Detroit. Detroit, right. How does a girl from Detroit learn 9 languages? The way he said Detroit made it sound like a bad word. Amara knew what he was really asking. He was asking how someone like her, someone young, someone black, someone who clearly didn't have money, could possibly have learned so many languages. Hard work, she said simply. Mr. Blackstone shook his head. This is crazy. I'm about to lose the biggest deal of my life, and I'm standing here talking to someone who probably can't even order food in Japanese. But as he said this, Amara could see something change in his eyes. He was realizing that he was running out of time and options. The clock on the wall showed he had less than 2 hours before his meeting. Sir, the hotel manager said quietly, perhaps we could give Miss Williams a small test, just to see... A test? Mr. Blackstone looked annoyed. I don't have time for tests. I need someone who knows what they're doing. But even as he said this, he was looking at Amara with new attention. She could see him wondering if maybe, just maybe, she might be telling the truth. The lobby was quiet now. Other guests had stopped to watch this strange conversation between the angry businessman and the young woman who claimed to speak 9 languages. Amara knew this was the most important moment of her life so far. Everything she had worked for, everything she had studied for, came down to this moment in a fancy hotel lobby with a man who had already decided she wasn't good enough. But she also knew something Mr. Blackstone didn't know yet. She really could speak 9 languages. And she was about to prove it. Mr. Blackstone checked his watch again. 1 hour and 45 minutes left. He looked around the lobby like he was hoping another translator would magically appear. But it was just him, the hotel manager, and Amara. Fine, he said finally. You want to prove you can do this job? Let's see what you've got. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. Jennifer, get down to the Grandview Hotel lobby right now. Bring the German contract files and the Japanese technical documents. Yes, now. While they waited, Mr. Blackstone studied Amara carefully. You know what? I'm curious. Tell me exactly how someone your age learns 9 languages. Start from the beginning. Amara took a breath. Well, my mom worked as a night cleaner in office buildings downtown. Sometimes she had to bring me with her when I was little. I'd sit in the lobbies doing homework while she cleaned the offices, upstairs. Okay, Mr. Blackstone said, not sounding very interested. The lobbies always had international news channels playing. CNN International, BBC World News, Deutsche Welle. I started watching them because there was nothing else to do. At first I didn't understand anything except English. And then I got curious. I started checking out language books from the library. Basic stuff at first. Spanish because there were a lot of Spanish speakers in our neighborhood. Then French because it sounded beautiful on the news. Mr. Blackstone was listening now, but his face still showed he didn't believe her. The other cleaning ladies who worked with my mom came from all over the world, Amara continued. Mrs. Chen from Taiwan taught me Mandarin during our dinner breaks. Roberto from Brazil helped me with Portuguese. There was this older Russian lady, Vera, who would correct my pronunciation while we ate sandwiches at 2 in the morning. You learned languages from cleaning ladies? Mr. Blackstone asked. They weren't just cleaning ladies, Amara said firmly. Mrs. Chen had been a teacher in Taiwan. Roberto was an engineer back in Brazil. Vera had a literature degree from Moscow. They took other jobs here because they had to, but they were really smart people. For the first time, Mr. Blackstone looked a little less sure of himself. A young woman in a business suit hurried into the lobby carrying a leather bag. Mr. Blackstone, I brought everything you asked for. Jennifer, perfect. Give me the German contract summary. Jennifer handed him a thick folder. Mr. Blackstone pulled out several pages covered in German text in legal terms. All right, he said to Amara. If you really speak German, translate this for me. And I want it word for word, not some basic idea of what it says. Amara took the papers. The text was full of complicated legal language about international shipping, contracts and liability clauses. She read it silently for a moment, then began speaking. This contract establishes the terms for mechanical equipment transport between Munich-based Schneider Engineering and your company. Section 3 states that all shipping delays beyond 14 business days will result in penalty fees of 2% of total contract value per additional day. She continued reading, translating complex German legal terms into clear English. Mr. Blackstone's expression changed from bored to surprised. The liability section says that Schneider Engineering accepts responsibility for equipment damage during transport, but only if proper packaging protocols are followed according to International Standards Organization guidelines, ISO 9001. When she finished, Mr. Blackstone was staring at her with his mouth slightly open. That's exactly right. How did you know the ISO standard number? I've translated a lot of business documents for international students at the university, Amara said. You see the same terms over and over. Jennifer was looking back and forth between them like she was watching a tennis match. Okay, Mr. Blackstone said slowly. Maybe that was lucky. Jennifer, give me the Japanese technical manual. This time, he handed Amara a document covered in Japanese characters. The text was about computer software specifications and programming protocols. Amara read through it quickly. This manual explains the installation process for enterprise database management software. It says the minimum system requirements are 16 gigabytes of RAM, at least 2 terabytes of storage space, and processors with quad-core architecture or better. She kept going, explaining technical details about server configurations and network security protocols. Her pronunciation of the Japanese terms was clear and confident. Mr. Blackstone looked confused now. Wait. Stop. How do you know all these technical terms in Japanese? I worked part-time for the university's International Student Services Office, Amara explained. A lot of Japanese engineering students needed help with technical translations for their projects. And they paid you for this? Yes, sir. Not much, but it helped with my tuition. Jennifer whispered something to Mr. Blackstone. He nodded and reached into the bag again. One more test, he said. This is a Portuguese financial report from our Brazilian partners. It's about quarterly earnings and market projections. The Portuguese document was full of numbers, business terminology, and economic forecasts. Amara read it carefully. This report shows that the Brazilian manufacturing sector grew by 12% in the last quarter, she began. However, there's a concern about rising material costs affecting profit margins. As she continued translating, she suddenly stopped. She read one section again, frowning. Mr. Blackstone, there's an error in this translation. What do you mean? An error? Someone translated lucros operacionais as operational profits, but in this context it should be operating income. The difference could be significant for accounting purposes. Mr. Blackstone grabbed the document and looked at it even though he couldn't read Portuguese. Are you sure? Yes, sir. Operating income and operational profits are calculated differently under Brazilian accounting standards. If you're using this for financial planning, the wrong translation could cause problems. Jennifer quickly pulled out her laptop and started typing. After a moment, she looked up. She's right, Mr. Blackstone. I just checked with our financial team. That error could have caused issues with our budget projections. The lobby was quiet. Mr. Blackstone stood there holding the Portuguese document, staring at Amara like he was seeing her for the first time. You just caught a mistake that our professional translation service missed, he said slowly. Yes, sir. A mistake that could have cost us money? Probably, yes. Mr. Blackstone sat down heavily in one of the lobby chairs. How old did you say you were? 24. And you learned all this from cleaning ladies and part-time jobs? And a lot of studying. I spent most of my free time in college working on languages instead of going to parties or hanging out. Why? It was a simple question, but Amara could tell he really wanted to know. Because I love languages, she said. Every language is like a door to understanding different people and cultures. When you can really speak someone's language, not just the words but the culture behind it, you can connect with them in a way that's impossible otherwise. Mr. Blackstone was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was different, less angry, more thoughtful. I have to admit I didn't expect this, he said. What do you mean? I expected you to fail. I thought you were just some college kid trying to get a job you weren't qualified for. Amara nodded. I understand why you thought that. But you caught an error in a professional translation. You know technical terms in 3 different languages. You understand business and legal concepts. Yes, sir. Mr. Blackstone looked at his watch again. 1 hour and 20 minutes until his meeting. All right, he said. Maybe you really can speak 9 languages. But speaking languages and handling a $50 million business negotiation are 2 very different things. I understand that. Do you? Because in 1 hour, I'm going to be on a video call with some of the most important business people in Japan, Germany, and Brazil. These aren't college students asking for help with homework. These are people who have been doing international business longer than you've been alive. Amara felt nervous, but she also felt excited. This was what she had been preparing for without even knowing it. I'm ready for that challenge, she said. Mr. Blackstone studied her face. You really think you can handle it? Yes, sir. I do. He was quiet for another moment. Then he made a decision that would change both of their lives. All right, Amara Williams. Let's see if you can really do what you say you can do. Mr. Blackstone led Amara to a private conference room on the hotel's 2nd floor. The room had a large wooden table with a laptop computer already set up. Big windows overlooked the city, but heavy curtains were drawn to avoid glare on the screen. Sit. Here, he said, pointing to a chair next to his. But let me be clear about something. I'm taking a huge risk right now. If this goes wrong, I lose everything. Amara nodded as she sat down. Her heart was beating fast, but she tried to look calm. The people we're meeting with aren't just business partners, Mr. Blackstone continued. Mr. Tanaka from Japan has been in international business for 40 years. He's old-fashioned and very formal. One wrong word could offend him. He opened the laptop and started connecting to the video call platform. The Brazilian team is led by Patricia Rodriguez. She's tough and doesn't trust Americans much. Her company has been burned by bad deals before. And the German group. He paused. Hans Müller is probably the smartest engineer I've ever met. He spots problems that nobody else sees. The laptop screen showed a waiting room message. 3 other participants were already online. Remember, Mr. Blackstone said quietly, just translate what they say. Don't add your own opinions. Don't try to be helpful unless I ask for it. These people are used to working with professional interpreters who stay invisible. I understand. Mr. Blackstone clicked the join button. Suddenly the screen split into 4 sections. In one box was Mr. Tanaka, an older Japanese man in a perfectly pressed dark suit sitting in what looked like a boardroom. Another box showed Patricia Rodriguez, a confident-looking Brazilian woman with short black hair, sitting at a modern desk. The third box had Hans Müller, a serious German man with glasses, surrounded by engineering diagrams on the walls behind him. Good morning, gentlemen. Good afternoon, Patricia, Mr. Blackstone began. Thank you all for making time for this important discussion. Mr. Tanaka bowed slightly toward his camera. Good evening from Tokyo, Mr. Blackstone. We are pleased to continue our negotiations. Patricia smiled, but it didn't look entirely friendly. Yes, let's talk business. We have questions about your timeline. Hans Müller adjusted his glasses. Before we discuss timelines, I have technical concerns that must be addressed. Mr. Blackstone looked confident, but Amara could see sweat on his forehead. Of course. What specific concerns do you have, Hans? Hans began speaking rapidly in German to someone off camera. His words were coming too fast for Mr. Blackstone to follow. Amara listened carefully. He's asking his colleague about stress test results on the metal components, she whispered to Mr. Blackstone. He's worried about durability in high-temperature environments. Mr. Blackstone nodded and waited for Hans to turn back to the camera. Mr. Müller, before you raise your technical questions, let me assure you that our materials have been tested extensively for high-temperature applications. Hans looked surprised. How did you know I was concerned about temperature stress? Mr. Blackstone smiled. Your reputation for thoroughness precedes you. I wanted to address the most important safety concerns first. Meanwhile, Patricia was having a quiet conversation in Portuguese with someone beside her desk. Amara listened and translated in a whisper. She's telling someone that she's not sure if your company is serious about environmental protection. The person next to her just said that American companies usually promise green practices but don't follow through. This information made Mr. Blackstone's face go pale. Environmental concerns weren't even on his prepared talking points. Mr. Tanaka began speaking in formal Japanese. Mr. Blackstone, in our previous discussions, we spoke about long-term partnership. In Japan, business relationships are built over many years, sometimes decades. We must be certain that your company shares this philosophy. Amara translated his words, but then added quietly, he's using very formal language. In Japanese business culture, this means he's testing your seriousness. You should respond with equal formality and mention respect for tradition. Mr. Blackstone cleared his throat. Mr. Tanaka, I deeply respect the Japanese approach to business relationships. My company believes in partnerships that grow stronger over many generations, not just quick profits. Mr. Tanaka's expression softened slightly. He seemed pleased with this response. Patricia leaned forward toward her camera. Let's talk about the environmental impact of this project. In Brazil, we take sustainability very seriously. What specific steps will your company take to minimize environmental damage? Mr. Blackstone looked nervous. This wasn't a question he had prepared for. He started to give a general answer about following environmental regulations. But then Hans interrupted, speaking in German again. This time he was talking directly to his colleague and his tone was frustrated. Amara listened carefully, then quietly told Mr. Blackstone what she heard. He just said that your environmental answer sounds like generic corporate talk. He's telling his colleague that maybe they should consider working with a different American company instead. Mr. Blackstone's eyes went wide. He realized that his unprepared response was about to cost him the entire deal. Actually, Patricia, let me be more specific about our environmental commitments, he said quickly. We're planning to use renewable energy sources for 75% of our operations within 2 years. We're also partnering with local environmental groups in each country where we operate. Patricia looked interested now. Which environmental groups? Mr. Blackstone was clearly making this up as he went along, but Patricia seemed satisfied with his commitment to find local partners. Mr. Tanaka spoke again in Japanese, this time asking a complex question about quality control and inspection processes. His language was full of business terms that most translators would struggle with. Amara translated not just his words, but explained the cultural meaning behind them. He's asking about quality control, but in Japanese business, when someone asks about quality this way, they're really asking if you understand that their reputation depends on your work. You should answer by talking about honor and shared responsibility. Mr. Blackstone nodded. Mr. Tanaka, we understand that your company's honor is connected to the quality of our work together. We share the responsibility for maintaining the highest standards. Mr. Tanaka actually smiled. Yes, this is the correct understanding. The conversation continued for another hour. Every few minutes, one of the participants would speak in their native language to someone off camera or use technical terms that Mr. Blackstone didn't understand. Each time, Amara would quietly provide not just translation, but cultural context that helped him respond appropriately. When Patricia spoke about Brazilian business culture and the importance of community relationships, Amara helped Mr. Blackstone understand that success in Brazil meant being seen as a good neighbor, not just a profitable partner. When Hans discussed German engineering standards, Amara explained that Germans valued precision and detailed planning above everything else. She suggested that Mr. Blackstone emphasize his company's attention to detail and careful project planning. When Mr. Tanaka talked about Japanese concepts of mutual benefit and long-term thinking, Amara helped Mr. Blackstone respond in ways that showed respect for traditional Japanese business values. But the real test came near the end of the call. Hans was discussing technical specifications with his colleague in rapid German, assuming that nobody else on the call could understand. His tone was getting more and more concerned. Amara listened carefully, then whispered urgently to Mr. Blackstone. This is important. He's telling his colleague that he's worried about your company's financial stability. He heard rumors that you might not have enough money to complete the project. He's suggesting they should ask for a larger upfront payment to protect themselves. Mr. Blackstone's face went white. He knew that asking for a larger upfront payment could kill the deal, because his company's cash flow was already tight. Hans, Mr. Blackstone said, interrupting the German conversation, I want to address any concerns you might have about our financial position. Hans looked shocked. How did you? I believe in transparency, Mr. Blackstone continued. Rather than wait for you to ask, let me offer to provide additional financial guarantees. We can arrange for bank letters of credit to ensure you're protected. The room was quiet. All three international partners were staring at Mr. Blackstone with new respect. Patricia spoke first. That level of transparency is impressive. Mr. Tanaka nodded. In Japan, we say that trust is built through open communication. This gesture shows great honor. Hans was quiet for a moment, then smiled. Mr. Blackstone, I believe we can work together successfully. As the call ended with all three groups agreeing to move forward, Mr. Blackstone sat back in his chair looking exhausted but amazed. He turned to Amara with an expression of complete disbelief. How did you do that? Mr. Blackstone stared at Amara for a long moment after the video call ended. The conference room was quiet, except for the hum of the laptop's cooling fan. Outside the windows, the city continued its busy afternoon, but inside this room, everything had changed. How did you know what Hans was saying about financial concerns? He asked finally. That conversation could have destroyed everything. Amara closed the notebook where she had been taking notes during the call. I was listening to all the side conversations. When people think nobody understands them, they say what they really think. And you understood all of it? The technical terms, the business language, the cultural references. Most of it, yes. Mr. Blackstone shook his head slowly. I've been doing international business for 20 years. I've worked with professional interpreters who charge $500 an hour. None of them have ever given me the kind of insights you just provided. He stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. When you told me about Hans's concerns, you saved my company. Do you understand that? If they had asked for a bigger upfront payment, I couldn't have made this deal work. Amara didn't know what to say. She had known the information was important, but she hadn't realized just how important. And Patricia, Mr. Blackstone continued, when you told me she was worried about environmental issues, that helped me address her concerns before she could bring them up formally. In Brazilian business culture, being proactive about community concerns is huge. He turned back to face her. How did you know that? I spent a lot of time talking with Roberto, the Brazilian man who worked with my mom. He used to tell me about how business works in Brazil. He said Americans always make the mistake of thinking Brazilian business people only care about money, but really they care a lot about how companies affect their communities. And the thing with Mr. Tanaka, about speaking formally and mentioning tradition? Amara smiled a little. Mrs. Chen taught me that. She said in Asian business culture, showing respect for tradition and long-term thinking is more important than talking about quick profits. Mr. Blackstone sat back down. These cleaning ladies you mentioned earlier, they really taught you all this? They taught me more than just languages. They taught me about their cultures, their countries, their ways of thinking. Mrs. Chen would tell me stories about business meetings in Taiwan. Roberto would explain how companies work in Brazil. Vera would talk about Russian business customs while we cleaned office buildings. And you remembered all of it? I was fascinated by it. Each country has such different ways of doing business, different things they care about, different ways of showing respect. I started reading about international business culture in the library. I wanted to understand not just the languages, but the people who spoke them. Mr. Blackstone was quiet for a moment. Then he said something that surprised Amara. I owe you an apology. Sir? When I first saw you in that lobby, I made assumptions. I looked at your age, your clothes, your background, and I decided you couldn't possibly be qualified for this job. Amara nodded. I understand why you thought that. No, you don't, he said firmly. I didn't just think you weren't qualified. I thought you were wasting my time. I was rude to you. I laughed at you in front of other people. He paused, looking uncomfortable. I've built my whole career on making smart business decisions, on reading people correctly. But today I was completely wrong about someone, and that someone just saved my company. The laptop chimed with an incoming message. Mr. Blackstone checked. It and his expression changed to amazement. It's from Hans, he said. He's already sending over the technical specifications we discussed. He says he's impressed with our cultural sensitivity and commitment to transparent communication. Another message appeared. And this is from Patricia. She wants to schedule a follow-up call next week to discuss environmental partnerships. Third message popped up. Mr. Tanaka is sending formal partnership documents. He says he's pleased to work with a company that understands the Japanese way of business. Mr. Blackstone looked at Amara with something like wonder in his eyes. They're all moving forward, all three of them. This deal is actually going to happen. He stood up and started pacing around the room. Do you know what this means? This isn't just about the $50 million, although that's huge. This opens up markets for us in 3 different continents. We'll be able to expand into Asia, South America, and Europe. Amara watched him pace. She could see that he was excited, but also that he was thinking hard about something. The thing is, he said, stopping to look at her, this is just the beginning. If we're going to work in all these different countries, we're going to need someone who can handle international communication. Someone who understands not just languages but cultures. That makes sense. Someone who can catch the things that other people miss. Someone who can hear what people are really saying when they think nobody is listening. Amara was starting to understand where this conversation was going. Someone, he continued, who can turn a potentially disastrous business meeting into a successful partnership. He sat back down across from her. Amara, how much were you expecting to make from this translation job today? The hotel manager said it would pay $200 for the afternoon. Mr. Blackstone laughed, but this time it was a happy laugh, not the mean laugh from earlier. $200. You just helped me close a $50 million deal and you were going to get paid $200. He pulled out his phone and made a quick call. Jennifer? Yes, the meeting went perfectly, better than perfectly. I need you to prepare an employment contract. No, not for translation services. For a permanent position. He looked at Amara while he continued talking. Director of International Communications, starting salary. Let's say $90,000 with performance bonuses. And I want it ready today. Amara's mouth fell open. $90,000 was more money than she had ever imagined making. Mr. Blackstone ended the call. What do you think? Interested in a real job instead of occasional translation work? Yes, sir. But are you sure? You just met me a few hours ago. A few hours ago, I thought I was about to lose everything I'd worked for. Now I have the biggest deal of my career and it's because of you. I'm sure. He leaned forward. But I want you to understand what you'd be getting into. This wouldn't be easy work. You'd be traveling internationally. You'd be handling communications for deals worth millions of dollars. You'd be representing my company in some of the most important business meetings we have. That sounds incredible. It would also mean more pressure than you've ever experienced. When you're translating for deals this big, one mistake can cost jobs, money, relationships. Are you ready for that kind of responsibility? Amara thought about her mother, working night shifts, cleaning offices to pay for Amara's education. She thought about all the hours she'd spent studying languages while other students were at parties. She thought about Mrs. Chen, Roberto, Vera, and all the other people who had shared their knowledge with her. Yes, sir, I'm ready. Mr. Blackstone smiled. Good. Because I have a feeling this is just the beginning. If today's meeting goes as well as I think it will, we're going to have opportunities all over the world. He stood up and extended his hand to shake hers. Welcome to Blackstone Industries, Director Williams. As Amara shook his hand, she realized that her life had just changed completely. A few hours ago, she was a struggling recent graduate hoping for a temporary translation job. Now she was about to become an international business executive. But more than that, she had proven something important to herself and to Mr. Blackstone. She had shown that talent and hard work could overcome assumptions and prejudice. She had turned a moment of discrimination into the opportunity of a lifetime. The girl who had been laughed at in a hotel lobby was about to help run international business operations for a major company. And this was only the beginning. 6 months later, Amara sat in her new office on the 22nd floor of Blackstone Industries headquarters. Through her window, she could see the entire city spread out below. Her desk had 3 computer monitors showing international stock markets, and her phone was ringing with calls from business partners around the world. But today was special. Today, Mr. Blackstone had called her into his office to discuss something important. She knocked on his door and heard his voice telling her to come in. His office was huge with windows on 2 sides and a conference table that could seat 12 people. But he was sitting at his regular desk, looking at papers with a big smile on his face. Amara, sit down. I have some news to share with you. She sat in the comfortable chair across from his desk. Good news, I hope. The best news. Remember that deal we closed 6 months ago? The one with Mr. Tanaka, Patricia, and Hans? Of course. Well, because of that success, we've just been invited to expand into 15 new countries. 15. We're talking about projects worth over $300 million. Amara's eyes widened. That's incredible. And it's all because of what happened in that hotel conference room 6 months ago. The way you handled that meeting impressed all 3 of our partners so much that they've been telling other companies about us, about our cultural sensitivity and international expertise. Mr. Blackstone leaned back in his chair. You know what the funny thing is? I've been in business for 20 years, and I never realized how much I was missing by not truly understanding the cultural side of international deals. What do you mean? I mean that I was good at the money parts, the contracts, the technical details. But I never understood that successful business is really about building relationships with people from different cultures. And you can't build Real relationships if you don't understand how people think and what they value. He pulled out a folder and handed it to her. These are letters from our international partners. I want you to read what they said about you. Amara opened the folder and read the first letter. It was from Mr. Tanaka, written on official company letterhead. Mr. Blackstone, she read aloud. We have worked with many American companies over the years. Often they treat us as simply another business transaction, but your company, through Ms. Williams, showed genuine respect for Japanese culture and values. This made us confident that we could build a long-term partnership based on mutual understanding. The next letter was from Patricia. Ms. Williams understood that our concerns about environmental impact came from our love for our country and our communities. She helped Mr. Blackstone respond in a way that showed he shared these values. This level of cultural understanding is rare among international companies. The third letter was from Hans. Working with Ms. Williams showed us that your company values precision and transparency. These are the most important qualities in German business culture. We look forward to many successful projects together. Amara looked up from the letters. They're all talking about cultural understanding. Exactly. And that's something you taught me. Before that day in the hotel, I thought business was just about having the best product and the best price. I never realized that understanding people's cultures and values was just as important. Mr. Blackstone stood up and walked to his window. You know what else I learned that day? What? I learned that I had been making assumptions about people based on things that don't matter. Age, background, appearance. I almost missed out on the most talented person I've ever worked with because I judged you before I knew you. He turned, back to face her. That's why I want to tell you something. Remember how you told me about learning languages from the cleaning ladies who worked with your mother? Yes. Well, I've been thinking about that a lot, about how much knowledge and experience those women had, and how most people probably never bothered to learn from them because they made the same assumptions I made about you. Amara nodded. They were all really smart. They just didn't have the same opportunities here that they had in their home countries. That's exactly what I mean, so I've decided to do something about it. Mr. Blackstone walked back to his desk and pulled out another folder. I'm starting a scholarship program, the Blackstone International Languages Scholarship. It's for students from working-class families who want to study languages and international business. That's wonderful. The first scholarship is going to be $25,000 per year, and I want you to help me choose the recipients. Amara felt tears starting in her eyes. Mr. Blackstone, that's amazing. There are so many students who could use that kind of help. I know. And here's the thing. I never would have thought to do this if I hadn't met you. You showed me that talent exists everywhere, not just in the places where people expect to find it. He sat back down. But that's not the only news I have for you today. There's more? Remember how I told you we're expanding into 15 new countries? Well, that means we need someone to head up our new international division. Someone who can travel to these countries and build the same kind of relationships you helped us build with our first 3 partners. Amara's heart started beating faster. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to promote you to Vice President of International Operations. The job comes with a salary of $150,000, plus bonuses based on the success of our international projects. Amara sat there in shock. Vice President. 6 months ago, she had been hoping for a $200 translation job. But there's something else I want to tell you, Mr. Blackstone continued. Something I've never told anyone else. What's that? That day in the hotel, when I was being so rude to you, I wasn't just being a snob. I was scared, terrified. That business deal wasn't just important to my company. It was my last chance. If that deal had failed, I would have lost everything. The company, my house, my reputation. Everything I had worked for my whole life. He looked down at his hands. When people are scared, sometimes they act badly. They take their fear out on other people. That's what I was doing to you. I understand. But here's what I want you to know. Even though I was scared and acting badly, you still helped me. You could have walked away when I laughed at you, You could have decided I didn't deserve your help, but you didn't. The job was important to me too. It was more than that, though. You saw that I needed help and you gave it even when I hadn't earned it. That says something about who you are as a person. Mr. Blackstone stood up again. And that's why I know you're going to be incredible in this new position. You don't just speak 9 languages. You understand people, you can see past surface differences to find common ground. That's the most valuable skill anyone can have in international business. Amara wiped her eyes. Thank you, Mr. Blackstone. For everything. For giving me a chance. For believing in me. For helping me change my life. You changed your own life. I just stopped being foolish enough to stand in your way. He walked over and shook her hand. Congratulations, Vice President Williams. I have a feeling you're going to change a lot more lives before you're done. As Amara left his office, she thought about the journey that had brought her here. From sitting in office building lobbies as a child, watching international news and dreaming about faraway places, from learning languages from immigrant workers who shared their knowledge while cleaning buildings at night, from struggling through college while working multiple jobs to pay tuition. All of those experiences had led to this moment. The little girl who had fallen in love with languages had become a business executive who would help companies around the world work together. But more than that, she had proven something important. She had shown that being underestimated could become an advantage. That knowledge and talent could come from unexpected places, that sometimes the person others overlook might be exactly the person they need. 6 months ago, a millionaire had laughed when she said she spoke 9 languages. Today, those same language skills were opening doors to opportunities around the world, and tomorrow she would help other young people who might be underestimated find their own opportunities to prove what they could do. The girl who had once been dismissed was now in a position to make sure others wouldn't be.